What's up, everyone? Let me fix my hair. Sorry about that, I'm weird. Alright, so I am here today to talk to you guys about NoFAP. What is NoFAP? Make sure there's no one watching me. I'm getting paranoid talking about this already. NoFAP is such a golly, it's such an awesome thing. It's one of the best things I've ever learned about. It's one of the best ways to live your life. It's kind of everything for me. Now, it sounds stupid, right? No fap. Oh, you're a no fapper. Like you're like creating a term and you're putting people in a box, basically. Of there's people that do it and there's people that don't. And there's a lot more to it. So let me just kind of credit. I'm gonna give credit to myself real quick. Sorry for all the loud noises in the cars and everything driving by. I can try and kind of get that out of the background. I don't think I'll be able to, so sorry if something comes by. If a car comes by, I'll probably just stop talking for a second just so it can pass and you guys can actually hear what I'm saying. But basically, it's a lot more to it than just the aspect of not masturbating and not having orgasms or whatever. There is something way bigger going on than just the term NoFap. It's way more. It goes way in more depth than we actually think. So I'm gonna start with just my experience and kind of credifying myself of I have done this for a pretty long time. Let me let this plane pass. Sorry. So I have done this for a long time. I started doing this 3 years ago, and I decided to just try and do it for a year and see how long I could go. And I ended up doing it for 253 days or something. And I didn't count every day or anything. It was more of it became like a life, like a way to live my life, a better way to live my life, basically. Because it's we have to go through life, all of us do, and it's how can we make this experience worth living? How can we make this experience enjoyable and get more out of it? And what ended up me discovering through this is just well, this is such a better way to live life, this is I'm having such a good experience, and all I am doing is just sitting here and outside talking to a camera, it's why am I having a good experience while others people wouldn't be having such a good experience? And I wanted to make the point of NoFap really, there's something in correlation between not masturbating, not having orgasms, not letting out your man juice, so to speak, and a better internal condition of your body. I don't know the science behind it. I really don't, and there's not a lot of scientists do. And I think there's such a misconception of masturbation's normal. Go ahead, it's healthy. And that's a bunch of crap. I don't know who is doing these studies, but that is a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry. From my experience, it's the complete opposite. It is the complete opposite. It might work for some people that have a really high, the difference lies, I guess, in sex drives. I don't have a high sex drive. I'm going to be honest, I don't. I don't have a high sex drive. So NoFap for me, I always have a high sex drive, obviously. So it's a good thing for me. I just feel like a normal human being, I feel like when you're young, like me, I'm 22 years old, I shouldn't be wasting it. It's basically like wasting your life, there's a lot of science behind whenever we masturbate, it's almost like our bodies think that we're producing a child, that we just tried to have a baby with someone. So it's it's going to go into this different consciousness, this different kind of it kind of just goes into this different kind of awareness of the world and conception of the world, and how we need to be more genuine and more caretaking. And it's kind of like you just had a baby, you just produced a child. So there's a bus driving by. Okay, so it's kind of you know, yeah, basically that. I heard that online somewhere, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I think if you're the kind of person that lacks common sense, which I used to be, you should do NoFap. I think common sense is, people we call it common sense, but it's not common sense because a lot of people don't get it. It's common sense to eat a good diet. It's common sense to exercise every day. It's common sense to get up with the sun and go sleep when it goes down. It's common sense to work hard. It's common sense to build your life, and it's common sense to be able to conversate with people. It's common sense to be able to go talk to a normal human being and not feel shy or anxious. It's common sense to be able to communicate your thoughts in a flowing manner. It's common sense. It's common sense. It's not anything special. But I'm telling you, these capabilities, these abilities to do these things it allows me to live a better life, to live a normal life and a life worth living. So NoFap has pretty much allowed me to do that. And I don't think I think there's tons of different ways you can perceive it. I think a lot of people have their own perceptions of it. Um, our really how we perceive things is just subjective anyway. It's like all of our perceptions are different than one another's. So, with that being said, whatever your perception is not really the objective reality of what's going on. Like, objective realities are everything just things we can agree on, and subjective realities are just our perception of the actual reality. So with that being said, it's like you can perceive things as good or bad, and I think NoFap allows me to perceive things in a positive light. Everything I really see is really in a positive light. Like, I can make the good. It's like having the ability to turn bad things into good things. Whether it be like a bad experience that you had, like, for instance, I got hurt and I couldn't do what I love to do for like 3 months. And a lot of people were like, oh, that must have been so hard on you. That must have been terrible. You must have gotten really depressed and all this crap. And I was like, no, actually, I was fine. Instead, I meditated and read books and went to school during the summer and I learned Spanish a little bit and like got ahead in school basically. And it was like me being able to turn something bad that happened into something good. And I think that's what NoFap allows you to do. Like, I didn't masturbate for the whole summer basically, and it was like that's what happened. Those were the results, and these are results. Like, I can give you results basically of how my life is and how it was before and how it is now. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know what my brain's doing right now. I don't know how my brain's working. I don't know the different regions that are activating. Like, for some reason we don't have scientists. I just don't understand it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we don't have scientists that are studying this kind of stuff. I just think that is preposterous. I just don't even understand how they wouldn't be doing experiments on things like this. And it just goes to show where our values lie in this country. It's ridiculous. But basically, yeah, I mean, I can share with you my experience. Before, I was really timid. I was really shy. I wanted to talk to people, but I just couldn't. It was such a weird feeling, and it was almost like I was like autistic. It was like so frustrating how I wanted to talk and meet people and make new friends and like express myself, but I had such a hard time doing that. Like, I had such a hard time. I grew up having such a hard time to like in expressing what I'm thinking and like how I'm feeling, and it was always just kind of like passive. It was always really like I didn't know how to really express myself, and I didn't really know how to conversate and communicate, and I couldn't really build relationships because of this, and I didn't really have a lot of friends because I couldn't socialize. It was like I wanted to socialize, but I just couldn't. Like, it was like that region of my brain or something just shut off. And it was like I never really developed socially, and what NoFap allows you to do, I don't even really know the specifics behind this, but it's allowed me to build social groups. It's allowed me to find friends and socialize with people and build relationships. And it's allowed me to look at life as like just one big experience rather than objectives and goals and things we got to do, and like I got to fall in line with this and I got to go to school and do that. And it's like it's made me realize that like this is my experience. Like I'm having my own experience in life, and that's what life's about. It's really your experience, and that's what NoFap has taught me. And I think it's really just the maintenance of a great internal condition in your body, like, and that affects your perception of life. So like I realize this is like a lot different than what other people's NoFap videos are about, but like this is kind of just my experience with it. I think it's helped me in so many ways. It's just helped me become a stronger person, and with aspects in pretty much everything. It kind of shows in nature that like the strongest male, he does better. He does better, and it's like if you're stronger in life than who you are now. If you get stronger, you're gonna be better off. Is that not really like we can all kind of agree on that? And I think that's kind of what has allowed me like stronger, not in the physical sense, but also the mental, like getting through tough patches of my life. I'm way stronger. I've been through so much shit, and I've gotten through it that like I just don't like. I mean, I haven't been through everything, and I'm sure there's going to be some really traumatic things that continue to happen. But I also know that like it's just a part of life, and I understand that it's all about perception. And like if I can maintain my internal condition by doing NoFap, basically, I'm going to be fine through pretty much anything. A lot of philosophers talk about this stuff. Gandhi, there's just people that have been imprisoned and say that it's really what you like. They've come out of it a better person and all that stuff. It's like I could see that, being in prison and still maintaining your internal condition and being able to come out of it with a positive perspective. Not everyone does that in prison, but there's obviously examples of people that do. There's the example of the king who got imprisoned. It was Jamaica, I believe. Jamaican, Jamaica, the guy got imprisoned, and then or something like this. Basically a story of like an emperor or a king or whatever, who was imprisoned. He got out, or he wasn't the king yet. Basically a guy got imprisoned. He got out. He overthrew the king and then became the king. And it's like, that's such a great story. Like, you come from prison to a king. Like, that's crazy, And that's kind of what NoFap does over a long period of time. So I noticed in the 253 days that I decided to do it, I just had some, like, this crazy experience of, like, it was trying to just seem like one whole big experience for me. And that's really all I can say about it. There's so much that happened. There's so many things that happened in that time period. I actually decided, like, that's when I really started eating healthy. And then through doing that, I became, like, more self-aware and realized so much shit about, like, how important diet is and, like, establishing good habits. And, I started to just become a better person, basically. And I just ditched old habits and started new ones. So that's basically what NoFap has allowed me to do. It's allowed me to make my life so much better and allowed me to be such a better person. It's helped me in competing in the sport that I like to do, I love to do. It's helped me in pretty much all areas of my life. I'd say the only area that I have a problem in maybe is really just like complying with society. I've kind of always had that problem, but I think NoFap maybe has just made me kind of more selfish, which I think, can be perceived as a bad or a good thing, but I think I've been really in line with like who I am and what I want. And that was something that I never really was in line with. I never really knew what I wanted. I never knew. I didn't know what I wanted. I was just going around and just like, I guess I'm going to go to school, and I guess I'm going to do this, and I guess I'm going to get a job and like work a 9 to 5, and like, it's like I didn't really know what I wanted in life, and now it's allowed me to kind of align with myself, and it's not an immediate thing. It happens over the 3 years or over the time period. Like, it's happened over the time, and it's probably just a step in me growing as a person. It's just NoFap's one aspect of it. It's just growing up, and developing and becoming better. Um, but yeah, I think it's just it's helped me so much. Um, Really, I'd say probably the best thing is just being able to have friends. I mean, I really have like an actual friend group, and it's like that's something that I always wanted. Like I always wanted just like a group of friends, some people that are there for me, and like people I can hang out with on the weekends and socialize with, and then like do schoolwork during the weekdays or whatever. And it's just like it's all about kind of finding your group of people, and you know when you find them, like you know just from the vibes, and like if you find like a good group that kind of just they bring you guys all bring different aspects to the group of people. It kind of combines into one, and it's like either a good match or a good match or a bad match, you know. And I kind of just luckily that I gravitated more and more toward like the people that I have a match with, that like I can actually like connect with and have a good friendship with, and like share good times with and vibe with, and like do good, you know, just have fun. Um, it's been such a long I can, you know, it's been so long since I started it. Like when I first started it, it was almost like a rebirth. It was crazy. Like how I found out about it was actually kind of through my own experience. I came out of freshman year really depressed and anxious, and I connected that depression and anxiety with pornography. I kind of was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna continue, like, because I was depressed and anxious for like a year, so it was bad. Like, I was trying to get out of that, and I didn't know how. So I was like, okay, well, I can't keep doing the same things. You know, I had to switch something up. And luckily, I just was kind of like I was living with my parents, and there was kids in the house. Sorry, car going by. There's like my little half brother and little half sister in the house, and it was like, okay, like I can't. Like I just kind of felt guilty about watching porn in the house and like living with my parents. So I just stopped. And what I noticed is like through stopping and through abstaining from that, it actually wasn't that hard because it was the summertime, and I was like, I had a job, I was preoccupied, like I was, you know, I enjoyed my job, I was on my feet, my job, I was burning calories, I was burning off energy while I was working, so it ended up being a great job. It was kind of, it wasn't really labor intensive, but it was like, you know, you had to, I was working in a hotel, and you had to go from like this floor to that floor and run around and do all this sorts of stuff to make sure everyone was like doing okay. And that just kind of made me realize that like, so giving up porn, I actually stopped masturbating for a pretty long time, because what I think had connected was like when you're watching pornography, it gets you really aroused, and like you're obviously probably gonna masturbate when you're watching sex. Like that's pretty like that's like come on, like who's not going to, you know? And it was like when I stopped watching it, it almost was like I stopped masturbating. You know, it got to a point where it was like I noticed like a different how I was different. It didn't start like that. It wasn't like a click of a button. It kind of like took me a while to realize that like that's how I can change. You know, it was through not masturbating. You know, it just kind of like happened. Um, and then I just kind of started Googling it because became pretty interested. I noticed that like I went back into it. So when I moved out of my parents, I started watching porn again. And then I made a connection with like, okay, why am I miserable again? It's like, what happened? Like I was really happy and doing good, and then all of a sudden I started watching porn again, and now I'm miserable. So it's like, what is the correlation between that? Obviously it takes some self-awareness, but I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop. You know, I'm just gonna stop watching porn, and it wasn't like a day. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop doing that. It was like it took me a while to realize that well, I should probably stop watching porn. Like it took me months to realize that again. So it's like it's a long process, and I almost just feel stupid at this point. I would never do that, um, just from everything I've learned. But like, so that's kind of when my life started getting so good, like just peak of my life. It's got to be when I first started doing NoFAP, and I'm not sure if it's because your brain's just getting like completely rewired, but I felt like my whole life was just like had meaning now, and I had never felt like that in my entire life. Like I luckily I found the forum online, and like I did research on like masturbation if it was healthy, and then I found NoFap, and then I was like, what the hell is this? I started reading it, and it was like, these guys are not masturbating, and then I started reading all about like, what these guys are doing, and like their effects and all these things from it, and it was like all these people were sharing really positive experiences from it, and they were like, this has cured my depression, it's cured my anxiety, it's helped me get a girlfriend. And it was like, dang, like I'm gonna try it. And I tried it, and it worked, and I was just like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And at first it was like I could only go for like a week and a half tops, and then I would just couldn't do it, you know. And then you kind of build up, your body either just kind of gets used to it, or you kind of stop producing as much sex hormones because you've been jacking off for like 4 years, and then all of a sudden you stop. So your body's going to keep producing all these sex hormones that it's been trying to keep up with. You know, that's kind of how I rationalize with it, but it's been trying to keep up with you releasing all these sex hormones. It's been trying to keep up with you for all those years, and all of a sudden you stop, and it's going to keep producing them. And then eventually, if you just stop, it kind of just levels off, and you kind of just stop. Like you kind of, eventually it'll just level off, and you won't have much of an urge. That's kind of how I see it. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I mean, now I am where I am, and it's pretty fucking crazy. Life's really good, and actually what I've learned is like trying to help people that are struggling. Like I've lived with a couple people that I wish I had told about this, because like I know how I was when I was not doing this, and it helped me just live a happier life. And like, why wouldn't you share this with people, you know? And not just online, but like with your friends and like people that you see struggling, and like in general. It's like, this can really save someone, you know? And that's what I learned. Like one of my friends, actually, he's not really my friend, but he used to be, you know, family friends and stuff. He actually committed suicide. And from then on out, I was like, man, like if he had just reached out to me, or if I knew about it, I would have told him how I overcame my depression with this and like anxiety and stuff. And I just kind of like, I'm not crying, but I'm kind of like wish that I did that, because it could have saved someone's life. Like it literally could have saved his life if he just had given this a shot, you know? Because I think it can get you out of depression, anxiety, and bad mental states that you're stuck in. And it's just sad that there's not a lot of people that like believe in this, and like people think it's crazy. And it's just kind of sad, because like it can literally help people live a better life, and it can literally save lives. Like, I mean, is a miserable life even worth living, you know? Like, it's not, you know, but this makes it worth it. And that's the importance of NoFAP, is that like you can figure out how to live a better life through doing this. And it's not like it's like a, you know, click of a button and you're back, you know, you're good, you're living a great life. It's like, it takes a while, and it takes experiences, and what you realize through NoFAP is you have these like really intense experiences. Like while you're on NoFAP, say you go surf, or say something like that, like that experience is going to be really memorable to you, because it's like, it's going to be really intense. Like you're going to have like this new profound experience, and you're going to take away a lot of information from that experience, and then you're going to use it and take it forward with you. So NoFAP allows you to do that. It allows you to rationalize through the world. It allows you to kind of objectively think about different things, and like, you know, really just have a better awareness of what's going on. And like, you can look at something and judge it for what it is, and you have that ability with NoFAP. And like, it really kind of just changes your mind, it changes your perception, and it changes kind of your life in general. And I think that's really important. So that's all I got, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll make a couple more if you guys enjoyed it. Let me know, comment or whatever. Peace out.